And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Reform today held a conference for small businesses and talking about small businesses, very passionate on it actually, Nigel Farage is. Of course, he said that all governments have neglected small businesses for a very, very long time and he wants to be able to give them a voice. It came to the question point and the way that the mainstream media treat Farage and kind of put words into his mouth is there for all to see. He's treated that way in sort of prime minister's questions, that people kind of just make up things that he said and then just say that he said that. He's kind of like the easiest sort of scapegoat within the sort of mainstream media, and there's a lot of sort of lies surrounding him and what he has said and what he has done. They're just trying their best, of course, not to get him in power. And of course, Reform are leading the polls by a significant amount at this moment in time. And if I was a betting man, Nigel Farage will likely be the Prime Minister come the general election in 2029. In today's video, we are going to be listening to hostile Sky News, how hostile they are with their sort of questions, and Nigel Farage getting a bit irked by it and, of course, biting back and owning the reporter. We're also going to be getting on to a question there from BBC as well. He also gives an interesting talking points with regard to Donald Trump and actually how he feels about the UK and the BBC right now. Fairly interesting to watch, but as always, guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. You've seen the state of this country, now wear the message. Wankir, Stuck Farmer, Liber. Shop the full collection by going down into the link in the description or heading over to BritishStan.com. So let's get into the first one. That's of course Sky News. And as stated, he does go on and touch about a phone call that he had with Donald Trump following this sort of BBC expose.
First of all, you've criticised Labour's workers' rights policies and commented to potentially undoing some of them. You said you might want to cut minimum wage for younger people. What is your message to workers today? Are you the anti-worker party? And if I may, on the BBC, what do you make of President Trump weighing into the conversation about the BBC and the British media landscape? Do you welcome that, or does that concern you?
Well, if I was the President of the United States of America, if I was the person making sure that the United Kingdom had security guarantees that meant that it could be defended, whereas on its own it would be helpless, and I'd been stitched up on the eve of a national election. I mean, people talk about election interference. What the BBC did was election interference. If you put yourself in Donald Trump's shoes, I think you'll understand why, when I had a chat with him on Friday, he made his feelings on the subject known to me in no uncertain terms and not in a quotable form. Even your question is the question, even your question is the problem. There are only 8,000 big businesses in the whole of the United Kingdom. Only 8,000. 99% of companies have fewer than 50 employees, and most of them are one or two person operations. And the whole national debate about the economy and about jobs and about work and about legislation focuses solely on those big businesses, because they're the people that have the voice. They're the people that appear on the morning TV and radio shows. We are pro-worker. We believe what we do will create many, many more jobs. Many, many more jobs. And I would say this, jobs, yes, and people will have to work hard, but jobs that will come with a quality of life. The other thing that is never understood, whether it was in Brussels before or in Westminster now, there is this assumption that employers are the bad guys, employees are the good guys. Let me tell you something. Most people that run family businesses treat their staff as well as they treat their own families. I know that. I promise you, they really, really do. But the problem is, these people haven't got a voice. There's no one to speak for them, which is why the bigger we can build small business for reform, the bigger voice all these people will have. And that is our stated aim. Today is that first brick that we're laying on the ground, and we intend to build something very, very substantial.
Well, I would give credit to Nigel Farage is, and no other politician, and some politicians can learn from him. He always answers every single question, which I do think is pretty good. Something that Keir Starmer has never done. In fact, Tory governments previously as well. He answers every question, despite the reporters, of course, being very hostile towards him. I find he does it fairly respectfully. Let's see what The Guardian said.
Amy Courier from The Guardian.
Thank you. Picking up on what you said about lobbying by big business, will you set an example by stopping big businesses from sponsoring Reform's conference from next year? And secondly,
No.
can you tell us what your position is on electoral reform, and do you still back proportional representation?
No is the answer to your question. No. I mean, I'm not against big business. I just want these guys to have a chance. On electoral reform, I've always favoured AV+, which would mean significant minority voices will get a vote in the House of Commons. But the really big electoral reform that I favour, and it would need to be a high bar, but I do think the British people have a right, if they feel the political class are out of touch with them substantially on a major issue. I do believe the British people should have the chance. It's got to be verified, yes, but a chance through petition to call a national referendum on a subject of their choosing. And I do believe in that very, very strongly. Okay.
Again, fair enough there. I mean, the left-wing papers are kind of coming in and creating, they all do it, whether it be sort of the politicians, the Labour politicians, just saying things that he didn't say. And again, he's like trying to be clear and staying calm and saying, look, I frigging didn't say that. And then he just continued to peddle it despite hearing one answer and then asking the same sort of questions. It's super frustrating to actually watch. And I can understand why he gets irked with regard to it. And this was him from answering the BBC and sort of gave a spiel and his opinion on the BBC.
Thank you, Mr. Farage. Harry Farley from BBC News. You've spoken about this being the last chance for the BBC. The outgoing CEO of News at the BBC, Deborah Turness, said the corporation is not institutionally biased. What do you think of that? And what specifically do you think needs to change at the corporation to reform? And on small business, you used to talk about scrapping business rates for high street firms, but last week you said widespread tax cuts were not realistic. Can you clarify whether you would still scrap business rates for high street shops?
The BBC has been institutionally biased for decades.
It's true.
I well remember the Wilson report 2 decades ago, saying the BBC were not covering areas like Europe and immigration with any sense of impartiality. And you could, add on to that net zero, climate change, all their interpretation of the horrors that have happened in Gaza. And now, of course, the United States president. I spoke to the president on Friday. He just said to me, is this how you treat your best ally? It's quite a powerful comment, isn't it? It's quite a powerful comment. So there's been too much going for too long. You might have noticed, Harry, that last year 500,000 people stopped paying the license fee. The year before, 500,000 people stopped paying the license fee. If the BBC doesn't now get a grip, get somebody in from the outside, somebody who has got a history and a culture of changing organizations, of turning them around, then I think what you would see within the next couple of years are many, many millions just refusing, just not wanting to have the license fee. I spoke to Nadine Dorries at some length this morning. She, of course, the former culture secretary, now a member of Reform, and she was the one trying very hard to bring some reforms in. And I rather agree with her. We need to very much slim down BBC. when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to sport, and many other areas like that, well, they should compete against everybody else for a subscription model. That's the modern world that we live in. So the license fee, as currently is, cannot survive. It is wholly unsustainable. Which, by the way, doesn't mean I don't want a BBC. I think part of our global brand, I think the BBC is important. I think BBC World Service is actually very, very important. And I think the BBC should get back to doing news, but just to doing straight news. If it can manage that, it has something of a future. If it can't manage that, frankly, it has no future at all.
So yeah, I mean, it is one of those situations, but of course, it's interesting to hear him talk about this. Of course, small businesses, I think that's something that has been neglected. I do see it, of course, and it's interesting to see how the mainstream media and the left wing ask him questions. Their biggest fear is, of course, if he does get into power. But one thing that I would credit Nigel for is he answers questions. He answers every kind of question, no matter how difficult it is, and something that Keir Starmer could certainly learn. And of course, again, giving us a bit of an insight on how Donald Trump is sort of feeling at this moment in time. And added with all the other crap that's going on with the country as well, it must just feel like, why don't you want to go on board with us? You know, we're making America great again. We're trying to make an impact in the world. Why is our greatest ally just falling to bits? He's tried to give us advice on our country as well. Nobody's listening. And in fact, these left-wing politicians just don't want anything to do with him. It's a massive, massive issue, in my opinion. But guys, let me know your thoughts on that down there in the comment section below. What do you make of Nigel Farage? Again, just spill. Let me know how you feel about him down in the comments. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.